also, in this regard, as you have heard, that the EPEP program aims to deliver skilled farmers that own and run sustainable farming businesses, from vegetables, poultry, livestock, to technical farming skills and business management. And this program seeks to uplift, educate, and empower the individuals that it touches. And for those graduates that are present with us here today, those are the graduates that have achieved this particular milestone. And they're about to go out into the world using these incredible skills to uplift themselves, their families, and their communities. Now, of course, another reminder that social media competition is still at play to win one of 6 Sasol Banyana fan jerseys and 4 sought-after Sasol bird books. Again, take a picture with the Insta frame outside, hashtag Sasol Bridge to Work, and of course, you may stand a chance to win that exciting competition in this regard. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is someone who is going to inspire our graduates here today. He's going to provide a contextual, conceptual, policy context around the response of this particular intervention, and of course, give them the bigger picture as to where they are located in their responses to running their own successful businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming to the stage the provincial head from Statistics South Africa, Mr. Robert Tenga.
I've got a piece of equipment that I must use here. I think Sasol, I also need some skills on how to use it. Okay, they call it a flicker. I've not seen it before, so I'll try my best. Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for this opportunity. We always appreciate an opportunity to tell a number story as we continue to measure and observe a host of social and economic statistical indicators through our survey program. Please allow me to acknowledge the presence of our leaders in this event. Minister, Mam Digiza, Premier, of our province, Mpumalanga, Mam Cheni Tsipani, MEC for Dadlia, Mam Shiva, the Executive Mayor of Government Local Municipality, and other executive mayors that are here today. And the Executive Vice President of Sasol, Ms. Charlotte Mokoena. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Amakosi. Greetings to all the leaders, all protocol observed, and all Sasol stakeholders that are here in this event today. Our department just came off one of the most difficult and most challenging census in its history, post-democracy. In this mammoth task, we have witnessed a transition to a full digital census, but also we have acknowledged the challenges brought forward by executing such tasks in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. The task is complete now, and as we shift our attention to the next phase, which is to get ready the results, we have learned from these challenges, and one can guarantee that we have come out wiser than we were before the beginning of 2022. Whilst we wait for this Census 2022 results, which should be ready sometimes in 2023, we have other numbers that should be able to assist Sasol and its stakeholders in this Bridge to Work program. South Africa is out of the state of disaster in relation to COVID-19 pandemic. However, The impact of the pandemic still resonates as the data continue to paint a gloomy picture. Since the first case of COVID was detected in our shores in March 2020. The youth as well as the women of our country continue in a difficult path of unemployment and inequality. The numbers are raising critical questions. These questions direct us to the priorities, goals and targets that we have set in our plans as a nation to address these challenges. The questions that initiatives such as this one will seek to help to address. However, as SSA, our role in this is to go out there, conduct measurements, come here, and share these the observations that we have made. So in relation to the purpose of this program, our story that we are going to tell today, in terms of the mid-year estimates, population estimates, we see that the population of the country has risen to 60.6 million, which is about 1% increase since 2021. The youth of our country, they form 34% of that population, which is about 20.6 million. And the median age, of course, of our population seems young at 28 years. The female form 51.1% of our population. We have these three manometric categories that we use to measure the level of poverty. And the first one is the food poverty line, which is the threshold of absolute deprivation, the amount of money required to purchase the minimum required daily energy intake of an individual. And we see that a quarter of our population is living within that category. The second one is the lower bound poverty line, which provides an austere threshold below which one has to choose between food and imported non-food items. There we see about 40% of our population that's living within that category. And the third one provides the threshold of deprivation below which people cannot afford minimum food and non-food requirements combined. And we see that over a half of our population lives within that category. So we merely have 45%. In fact, we have a majority, not majority, but a mere 45% of those that will consider non-poor in our population. So there has been an increase in the percentage of persons and individuals who access social grants in 2021, and that is mainly due to a large uptake in terms of COVID-19 social relief of distress grants. But we can see on the top line trend there that households have been increasing from 30.8% in 2003, and currently they sit at 50.6%, whereas individuals, they've increased from 12.8% and currently are at 35.7%. So the main source of income for almost 1/4 of households is actually on grants nationally. And we see in terms of Mpumalanga, that is 30%, and Free State at 31.3%. Now we look at education. So the picture that we see here, I think this is very critical to this program today, so that when we look in terms of what is happening, who do we want to impart the skills on Sasol, we can see that, of course, there is a smooth transition and is strong between primary school and secondary school. But what we see is that the school leavers, they are leaving and they are not going to the higher education in majority. Majority are joining those that we regard as not in education and training. These are the people that I would like to believe that you're concerned about. But what we worry about, of course, is that the longer they stay in that category, the longer it becomes, the more it becomes difficult for them to even have a chance to join the workplace. So the sooner we take these people and we impart skills, they can be independent, they can be on their own, start business, the better. Now here, those that are not attending school, there are different reasons, of course. What we see is that for males, about 26% say it's because of poor academic performance. Whereas we've got 22% of females that say it's because of not having money to go and study. But then the concerning one, of course, is at the bottom, where we see that the females, there are those that are actually not studying because they've got family commitments. Whereas there's very few males who stay at home because of the same reason. Most provinces are closer to the SA average for obtaining national senior certificates. However, there are still large disparities in obtaining post-school qualifications by province. So what we see is that Gauteng and Western Cape are the ones that are higher than the national average of 14.6% in this case, whereas Mpumalanga and KZN at the moment they are still at the lowest. So there is still a lot of work that we need to do in ensuring that they obtain this qualification. What the labor market is telling us is that we have about 40.2 million of the population that are currently considered of working age, and 23.6 million of those are in the labor force. As a result, we have 33.9% that are unemployed coming out of that labor force number, and that is equating to 8 million. And on the other side, we've got 3.6 million of those that are regarded as discouraged work seekers. These are people that are sitting at home and they've given up on looking for jobs for various reasons. The youth are facing unequal prospects in labor market. And we see that of the 10.3 million youth, which are making up 43.5%, they go in on and be in the majority when it comes to unemployment, because we see that of those that are unemployed, 60% of them are actually the youth. So in terms of the number, they are not the majority, but they are the majority when it comes to unemployment. So that's basically what we're seeing. Almost half of the working age women in South Africa are out of labor force, compared to 85.6% of their male counterparts. So these are the ones that we're regarding as inactive for some reasons, but also including the discouraged work seekers as well. So we've got a lot of women that are not available and cannot be found by jobs because they are not looking. The youth aged between 15 and 24, as well as those aged between 25 and 34 years, recorded the highest unemployment rates at 61.4% and 41.2%. And approximately 3.7 million, which is 35.7%, out of the 10.2 million young people aged 15 to 24 were not in employment, education, or training. And this, of course, resonates with the picture of school transition, where we see that the youth are getting out of school, but they are not going to study further. But that also shows that they are not also getting employed. The unemployment rate among the Black African youth population group at 50.5% remains higher than the national average, and also when you compare it to other population groups. Because we see that the colored youth are at 35.8%, Indian or Asian, they are at 21.7%, and white youth are sitting low at 14.8%. The graduates' unemployment rate for youth is 28.2%, which is lower compared to those that do not have metric and those that have metric. So basically the picture here tells us that graduates stand a better chance of getting jobs than those that do not hold those certificates, qualifications. The Black African women are the most vulnerable, with an unemployment rate of 53.4%. And we can see the males are at 48.1% when we compare the two. In terms of transition rate into employment, who exactly is likely to transit into employment between the discouraged work seekers and those that are unemployed? What we see, of course, is the obvious that those that are not looking for jobs, they are discouraged. They tend to not get jobs at 5.9%. And those that are unemployed are likely to find jobs, but still the rate is very low at 11.9%. Now, in this one, what we see is that those that are likely to transit to employment are males more than females, adults more than the youth, as well as those that are experienced more than those that are inexperienced. So I think the last part of this, it also tells us that we have a problem when even our graduates for that matter, if they don't have experience, the chances of them getting jobs are limited. So therefore, also the programs that require or seek to give experience to these graduates and all that we would have trained are still critical, so that they stand a better chance. Now, what we see from the 2017 survey of employers and self-employed is that 63.5% of those that were able to start businesses, the reasons were that they were unemployed, and also the fact that they needed to provide an extra source of income as well. With a 51.5% share, most informal businesses are in the trade industry, but what we see is that also in the trade industry, since 2001, there's been a decrease in interest to trade in that category, decreasing from 69.6% to 51.5%. And another one that was also affected with the decrease is manufacturing as well. That seems to have decreased from 10.7 in 2001 to 7.3. But we see that in finance, construction, community and social services, there's been an increase in terms of businesses that are being started in those categories. Just a quick recap. As a nation, South Africa is a youthful population with a median age of 28 years, and slightly more than half of the population are females, and more than a quarter of the population, they are living below the food poverty line. 35.9% of the 20 years or older are in possession of the national senior certificates, whereas 14.6% are in possession of the post-school qualifications. Females are mostly likely to be out of school due to family commitments as compared to males. 35.7% of our young people are not in employment, education and training. The youth constitutes 60% of those that are unemployed as of quarter 2 of 2022. Almost half of the working age females are out of labor force compared to the males. The youth unemployment has historically been higher than the national average, and Black African youth are affected the most. And with this information, I would like to believe that it sets some sort of a tone as we launch this program of a bridge to work for Sasol. Thank you very much.